Welcome to the Maintenance Community Podcast, a podcast for people who want to learn all about maintenance and reliability. My name is Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Upkeep. Each episode, I'll be meeting with an expert within the maintenance community to take a deep dive into topics that hopefully help elevate our entire industry. Our topics are sourced from the Maintenance Community Slack group, which is the largest online community of maintenance professionals all around the world. And today, I'm super excited to have Tom Ross here on the show. Tom is currently the applications engineering manager of machine health monitoring at Everactive, but he also holds a ton of experience in many different industries, including biopharma, oil and gas, food and beverage, and a whole lot more. So welcome to the podcast, Tom. I'm super excited about today's conversation.
Hey, I'm excited too, Ryan. Thanks for having me and Everactive on the show.
Of course. So the way that we always kick this off, Tom, is you sharing a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you were first introduced to this field of maintenance and reliability.
So academically, I do have a mechanical engineering degree. I did get an MBA at some point. Couldn't stay away from school for too awfully long. A registered professional engineer in the state of California. But I would say really a boots on the ground kind of guy at heart. Spent an awful lot of time in a variety of operations, maintenance, and engineering roles, as you've said, in a variety of industries. My first job after college was with DuPont, and my initial assignments were more civil engineering related. The group that I was in was a little bit light on civil engineering stuff, so I started doing more construction oriented things, straying away from a mechanical engineering degree. That early in my career I didn't think was too wise, and there was a group within the engineering department that supported maintenance. So I asked if I could give that a try and focus on the mechanical aspects of it. They were able to make that shift, and I guess I found a home there, and I've been involved in it ever since.
You found reliability, it sounds like, early on in your career, and it must seem like you love this industry a little bit, otherwise you wouldn't have stuck around so long.
Yeah, it's always a challenge trying to, continuously improve things. Sometimes it's a process that needs to be modified. Sometimes it's a piece of equipment that needs to be modified. So that's the challenge, right? And then seeing how you can improve those things, the processes, the equipment, and sometimes it's sharing knowledge and trying to make the people that are operating and maintaining a little bit better at their game as well.
Me, and I think to a lot of our listeners, like a lot of companies, a lot of businesses have kind of gotten into this train of remote condition monitoring and data. But I think the part where a lot of people struggle is like, how do we analyze and how do we best consume that data? What do we do with all of this data? What have you seen some of the best companies do to drive actions utilizing the data that they consume and data that they get from remote condition monitoring solutions like Everactive?
So I think that there's a few different ways to really make sure that the technology ultimately drives value. And some of it can be if the customer is very tech savvy, highly knowledgeable, very data driven, then if you give them a continuous stream of data, then they can understand the data. They know their systems, they know what's normal, they know what they're looking for in the ways of faults or flaws, and they can use data analysis techniques to develop their own alarm protocols, their own alarm strategies. And then, the alarms can be pushed to the appropriate people so that action can be taken in real time. And ideally, the alert is early enough in the sequence of failure that they would have time to do some evaluations and then take the appropriate course of action on their schedule when it minimizes the impact to them versus reacting to a failure that had gone undetected. One way is if there is technical capability with the client that we can leverage that.
So obviously tons of innovation going into this space. It sounds like there's this active discussion around like turning insights into actual actions, being able to harvest all this data that's coming in a meaningful and actionable way. Tom, obviously you've been in this space for a few years now, and it seems like you've loved it enough to stay in this space. What have been some of the most challenging and also some of the most exciting aspects of building technology for this industry?
I think some of the most exciting things really has been there are people that are doing circuit designs and radio designs that have never been done before. So understanding what they're doing, how they're doing it, not to the point where I could do it myself, but understanding what they're doing, what the strengths of what they're doing could mean to customers, and then really getting a chance to work with the folks that are building the solutions, building the sensors, building the gateways, working with the sales and marketing folks, and then really ultimately working with the customers. That's the real fun thing talking to an operations manager from a former operations manager, in a lot of cases will speak the same language, as well as being able to fall back on, maintenance management positions that I've had, reliability engineering positions that I've been fortunate to fulfill. So really getting to talk to the folks and, sharing experiences, and then ultimately understanding where their pain points are and helping them with a solution that makes their problem go away and helps with their work-life balance.
Anything that you found challenging for building for maintenance reliability in this industry?
So in this industry, we are doing things that are new and different, right? And so, trying to tell people that, hey, this is what we do, and having folks say, yeah, no, that just doesn't sound good. And then, building the relationship, building the confidence, and then getting them to actually give us a shot and prove that we can do what we say. It's a challenge doing something new. It's a challenge getting people to accept, something is true that they have never heard of before.
I know that it seems like half joking about the future of being everything wireless and it being a couple months out. I'd be curious from you, Tom, like how far are we from that vision? Is this something that, is going to happen in the next decade? Where do you think we are on this technology curve of true wireless being more widespread throughout industry? Is this something that's widespread already?
I wouldn't say that it's widespread, but I would say that in 10 years, we're going to see a significant change. Just imagine an industrial plant with one gateway, and you can decide where you want to place any sensor within that plant, within 1 kilometer radius. That would definitely make things ubiquitous. And yes, at that point, we'll be able to sensor up and provide data on almost anything.
All right. Sounds like the future's going to be here over the next 10 years or sooner.
I jokingly said a couple months, but it may take a few years. But there'll be continuous progress along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Tom, what's a technology trend that you're most excited about that you think is going to have the biggest influence in the maintenance reliability industry?
I think that if COVID has taught us nothing, it's that we can't be at the plant all day, all the time. So we have to embrace technologies that do allow us to pull information and data in, understand it quickly, and then take the appropriate action, even if you're not there on the plant site, right? So that's a trend that I'm excited about. That's a trend that I see regardless of the underlying technology. People will be at home and they'll be able to make calls about developing situations at the plant, and be able to provide meaningful action to the folks that are there. Early in my career, I would get the phone call at 2:00 at night and I'd get an understanding of what was going on, but I would have to drive to the plant and then actually make my own data collection and assessments. If COVID has taught us nothing else, we've got to figure out a way to get the data in the right hands of the right people, so that the right actions can be taken in a timely manner.
Tom, favorite book, favorite resource, where do you go to learn?
So that's a great question. One of the things that, if I haven't mentioned this already, that I really love about the job that I'm in now is the interaction with the customers. So being able to talk to them, understanding what's working for them, where their pain points are, what they've implemented that I've never seen before. So the customers are a great source of information. Again, just listening to what's working, listening to where they're having issues, and then trying to figure out where and how we might be able to help them. That's the real fun thing. So that's the greatest source of information for me.
I mean, absolutely. I think what I've also learned is that everyone does things just a little bit different.
Sure.
And the more that you listen and talk to new people, different industries, you just learn so much, because you could feel like you're at the top of the world with the best world-class practices, but you go talk to one other plant and you hear something that they might be doing that's slightly different. And you think, oh man, maybe we could change this, optimize this even better. All right, Tom. So this has been a fantastic podcast, and I personally learned so much. Can you share with all of our listeners the different ways that they can connect with you and follow you on your journey?
Sure. My email address is tom.ross, ROSS, @everactive.com. And I'm also on LinkedIn.
Well, thank you again, Tom, for joining us. And thank you to all of our listeners for tuning into today's episode of the Maintenance Community Podcast. My name is Ryan. I'm the CEO and founder of Upkeep. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Shoot me an email directly at ryan@onupkeep.com. You can also find me and also Tom in the Maintenance Community Slack group, where you can feel free to follow up with any questions from today's episode or just suggest future topics as well. You can sign up at upkeep.org. I hope to connect with all of you soon. And until next time, thanks again, Tom.
Thanks, Ryan.